From one emergency to the next, Ottawa unveiled new measures today to meet its net zero greenhouse gas emissions target by 2050, with a price tag of $15 billion. There are 5 main pillars: cutting energy waste, mostly through retrofit programs, creating clean, affordable transportation, applying a higher levy to pollution, investing in clean, made-in-Canada products, and protecting nature. But the plan relies on a hefty hike to the carbon tax, increasing the price of gas by at least 30 cents a litre. To compensate for the increase at the pump and other costs of living, rebate payments will be delivered on a quarterly basis starting in 2022. So will Canadians support it? Let's bring in the minister leading the charge. Environment Minister Jonathan Wilkinson joins me now from the foyer of the House of Commons. Hello, Minister. Lovely to see you. I know it's been a very good day for you. I don't know you very well, but you looked like a pretty happy man at that news conference today when you announced your government's environment plan. But I'm going to ask you a question that a colleague asked you at that news conference. Is, your government hasn't really met any of its targets so far. So I'm wondering why now, at the end of 2020, we should believe that you are going to meet the ones that you set out today.
Well, first of all, I would say that this government actually brought into place the first climate plan Canada has ever had with the Pan-Canadian framework. But we were very clear that we had not gotten all the way to the target, that we still had a 77 megaton gap to fill. What today does is actually bring forward additional measures that we will be taking that are detailed out in great detail in the plan that demonstrate very clearly how we will not only meet, but we will exceed the target we committed to with our international partners under Paris. So it is a very good day for Canada. I think Canadians should be very proud that we are a country that is taking and showing climate leadership, but we're also actually doing that in a way that's going to build an economy that can thrive in the low carbon future that countries around the world are investing in and chasing.
Okay, so it's the 5th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. Boy, time flies. And today the EU announced its members countries have agreed to cut their greenhouse emissions by at least 55% by 2030. So I'm wondering, would Canada be still behind?
Well, first of all, I applaud the work that Europe is doing and the bold target that they've established. I would say, though, that Europe and Canada are quite different. Europe, the primary issue for them is greening their electricity grid, which is both easier from a technology perspective, but also cheaper with respect to the cost per ton. Canada's big challenges relate to transportation, and they relate to industrial emissions, including oil and gas emissions. Our electricity grid is already pretty clean. And so the focus is on finding ways to drive down those emissions and to do it in a manner that is consistent with enabling us to be competitive in a low carbon future. We are working hard on that. We've provided a new range. We can, based on the investments we've made today, we get into the bottom end of that range. But we are going to be looking to do more going forward to move up towards the upper end and hopefully beyond that range, including working with provinces and territories and challenging them to do more. I mean, ultimately, climate change is an issue for all of us. Provinces and territories have a number of levers within their control, and we will be looking for them to step up as part of this process.
Okay, you just mentioned the provinces, so let me ask you this, because not so long ago, Ottawa and some of those provinces were really on a collision course over the carbon tax. So have you approached the provinces before making this announcement today? Like are you guys on the same kind of wavelength on this, or are they learning this like we are at your news conference?
So certainly we've had conversations about climate issues and climate policy with the provinces over the last little while. I had a number of conversations with different provinces even within the last 24 months. I think there are enormous opportunities for collaboration in different regions of the country, in the prairies, for example, on biofuels and hydrogen and carbon capture and sequestration, reducing industrial emissions. In Atlantic Canada, it's about building the Atlantic Loop to enable clean energy to flow from Newfoundland to other parts of the Atlantic region. So yes, we've had lots of conversations. I think there are bases for good collaboration in every region of the country. There clearly are some issues on which we don't agree. Certainly the price on pollution, there are a number of provinces that have challenged the federal position in court. federal government remains confident that we will ultimately prevail in that.
But you are,
but
Minister, you're increasing the price on pollution. So, they disagreed with your lower price on pollution, and now what you're telling us is you're going to be increasing it. By that, I don't mean to sound like a climate denier, which I'm totally not. But I'm bringing their position to you. When it was even cheaper, they were against it. Now that you're increasing it and you're expecting them to be for it, I'm not understanding exactly what your strategy would be.
Oh, I'm not expecting them to be for it. What I'm saying is we should be mature enough, and I think we all are, to separate the areas where there is interest in collaborating and from the issues where we may not agree. We have been very clear with the price on pollution. I don't expect that Saskatchewan and Alberta are all of a sudden going to become converts to the price on pollution, but we've been very clear at the federal level. It is an important part of putting together a plan that can meet and exceed our targets. It is the most economically efficient way. 99.5 out of 100 economists will tell you it's the most efficient way to reduce emissions and incent innovation. And at the end of the day, global capital and countries around the world are moving to position themselves to be competitive in a low-carbon future. Canada needs to do likewise. We can't put our heads in the sand and wish that changes weren't happening. They are. And I mean, you see that even recently, Premier Kenney, embracing the need for climate action is in part a function of the fact that global capital is saying climate is a relevant, a highly relevant criteria on which investments are going to be assessed and made.
Okay, very quickly, let me ask you this. I only have 30 seconds left, Minister. Why are you doing this now in a pandemic? A lot of people are asking that question, not to say that we shouldn't do anything, but why now and not, say, in the spring?
Well, I would say two reasons. One is that there are elements of this plan that are really about creating short-term jobs, like home retrofits and community building retrofits, to try to help us to build back out of this pandemic in a way that is consistent with what we need to do on the long term to address climate. I also say that, Canadians are very smart. They understand that, and they expect their governments to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We look forward to the emerging crisis that is climate change, and Canadians know that we need to start to think about how we address that. This plan is about a strong economy of the future for our kids to have jobs and economic opportunity in a world that is sustainable. And so, I would tell you, a lot of this work has been done largely for the benefit of our children and youth of this country who are going to inherit this challenge if we do not act. And that is why today, in my mind, is a very good day.
Thanks so much. Have yourself a very nice and safe weekend, sir.